And then the other thing is, there is, my book is in certain ways, I tell people it's my most liberal book in the sense that it takes it has a pretty open-minded ecumenical perspective on places where God might be working in the world. I am a Catholic. I do think Jesus is the Son of God, and if human beings are saved, they're saved through him. But I don't think that at all excludes God working elsewhere. So that's the liberal side of my argument. But the sort of traditionalist side of my argument is that, there are probably demons out there too. And the religious individualist, of which there are many in our society, is in a quite vulnerable position to hostile supernatural powers relative to the person who signs up for one of the major world religions. So,
Yeah, and we're also human. It's making up your own religion and sticking with it is basically impossible for most people.
Right. Most people are not religious geniuses, myself very much included.
But I do think that's one of the strengths of the book is that you're not. The vast majority of the book is not telling people to be a Christian. The vast majority of the book is telling people to get serious about the big questions and have a look at these big religions because they are less counterintuitive and counter to modern knowledge than you know. That's it's a very gentle nudge, this book. It's an invite. It's not in that sense, I'm going to really upset you now. It's kind of like Pope Francis. I knew that would do it. Francis says, for example, just the attempt of a human, just the curiosity of a person to ask questions about God is the beginning of faith. That's all.
Yes.
That's what he doesn't. He doesn't ask the average person not to do anything more, but be curious and look and ask. That's all. And he will welcome you on those grounds. And that seems to be roughly what you're saying. I know I'm doing this to embarrass you, but nonetheless,
no, you're not going to tempt me fully into an argument about Pope Francis. But I would say this. I have been on this podcast talking about my critiques of Pope Francis in the past. I think that there is a particular balance that you want. I won't say your religion, that I want Catholic Christianity to offer, which is, I think, more sort of liberal and relaxed and welcoming than some of my fellow conservative Catholics might be comfortable with.
Well, they would not concede that there might be elements of godness or the search for God in Buddhism. There are elements of it in Islam.
I think like John Paul II conservatives and even Pope Benedict conservatives would concede that. That is part of the post-Vatican II Catholic vision. The true, yes, there are certainly traditionalists who would not concede that. But I think to the extent where my issue with sort of liberal forms of Catholicism tends not to be about the initial spirit of welcome and the fairly relaxed attitude towards, people who are showing up to Mass or not. It has to do with what you're saying about sort of the core teachings of the Church.
I'm just making a very narrow point.
This in that sense, there is a side of Pope Francis that I admire despite my critiques, and there is an element, clearly a convergence, if you will, in that style of argument.
In other words, this is not proselytizing.
But
this book is not proselytizing.
Well, until the very end.
Well, even then, let's get there in a second. But even there, I don't think it's really proselytizing. In the sense that you're telling people to believe in this, it'll go to hell, or you must believe it. No, it's not. It's what you do in that last chapter, in my opinion, is tell the story of your own faith in a way that is deeply appealing. And that that's not proselytism. It's an invitation to join and an explanation of where you are, and in a very modest and clear way.
I mean, I think if you use, as Pope Francis does, the term proselytization as a kind of critique and pejorative, then yes, I'm not, in that sense, I'm not proselytizing. I'm evangelizing, which is a nicer word. I would put it this way. I think the book ends, as you said, the book is generally just urging people towards religion and religious practice. And at the end, I say, here's how my view of Jesus and the Gospels and so on fits into this broader framework and so on. I think, though, what I actually think, right, is that God is present in many religions, but he's fully present in Christianity in a unique way. And as a Christian, I therefore have a certain confidence that if people really approach all of the diversities of religion with a fully open mind, which of course, no one can completely, that, a disproportionate share of them will be attracted to Christianity. So in a sense, that's my Christian bet.